Kate Morrison walked into the giant hall on Zentara Prime. Her black shoes clicked on the smooth crystal floor. Behind her, Commander Jake Phillips carried a thick folder of papers. Both humans wore simple blue uniforms with small Earth flags. On their shoulders, the room was huge. It could hold 1,000 beings easily. Today, only about 50 alien delegates sat in floating chairs around a circular table. The table was made of some kind of glowing green stone that hurt to look at. Directly. Kate had been coming here for 3 years. 3 long years of meetings, discussions, and arguments. 3 years of being treated like a child, asking adults for candy. The Vorthek delegates sat on the left side of the table. They looked like walking crystals with too many arms. Their leader, Prime Minister Zekstala, made musical sounds when he talked. Today he wore gold bands around his crystal limbs to show his importance. On the right side sat the Zelani collective representatives. They all looked exactly the same because they shared one mind. Gray skin, big black eyes, no hair at all. When one spoke, they all nodded together like robots. The Corvin Federation took up the back section. They were the warriors of the galaxy. Tall, covered in thick scales, with sharp teeth and claws. Even sitting down, they looked ready to fight. Kate took her seat at the small table marked for Earth. It was much smaller than the others and placed lower, like a child's table at a family dinner. Jake stood behind her chair, his face showing no emotion. The meeting began the same way it always did. A floating ball of light appeared in the center and spoke in the galactic common language. We continued talks about human requests for trade. Equality and territorial recognition, the ball said in a flat voice. Zeksthala made his musical laugh. We have already explained this many times. Humans are new to space. You have been flying between stars for only 100 years. We have ruled the galaxy for thousands. Kate opened her folder and pulled out a single sheet of paper. She had printed it that morning on the human ship waiting outside the planet. Prime Minister, Kate said in a calm voice, we are not asking for charity. We want fair trade deals. We want the right to claim empty worlds for colonies. We want to be treated as equals. The Zelani spokesman spoke next. All 5 representatives moved their mouths at the same time, creating an echo effect. Humans lack the technology for true space civilization. Your ships are slow, your weapons are weak. Your minds work alone instead of together. Commander Phillips shifted slightly behind Kate. She could feel his anger, but he stayed quiet. That was the plan. Our ships brought us here, Kate replied. Our weapons keep our world safe. Our minds created technologies you have never seen before. This was true. Human ships were different from alien designs. They were not as fast or as big, but they could go places other ships could not. Human weapons were not as powerful as Corvin plasma cannons, but they worked in ways that confused alien defenses. The Corvin War Commander, a huge creature named Vekanol, slammed his clawed hand on the table. Humans think they are special because they survived their first century in space. Every species does this. Most species do it without starting wars on their own planet every few years. Kate smiled. This was the same argument they always made. Humans fight too much. Humans are too aggressive. Humans cannot be trusted. War taught us many things, she said. It taught us how to survive when everything goes wrong. It taught us how to adapt when our plans fail. It taught us that sometimes peaceful talks do not work. The room went quiet. The translator ball flickered as if it was not sure it had heard correctly. Zeksthala made his musical laugh again, but it sounded forced. Are you threatening this council, human? Kate looked around the room. She saw the same expressions on every alien face: amusement, superiority, the look adults give to children who say they want to be president when they grow up. No threats, Kate said, just facts. For 3 years we have asked for simple things: fair prices for our goods, permission to settle empty worlds, basic respect as a spacefaring species. Every time you say no, every time you tell us we are too young, too weak, too different. She stood up slowly. Jake handed her the folder, which she closed and tucked under her arm. Today I came here to ask one final time. Will you treat humanity as equals in this galaxy? The aliens looked at each other. Some made sounds that might have been laughter. Zexthala spoke for all of them. Humanity will be considered for junior membership in galactic affairs when you prove you can maintain peace on your own worlds for at least 50 years. Until then, you may trade through approved Vorthic merchants at standard tribute rates. You may not claim new worlds without council permission, which costs 1 million credits per application. These terms are final. Kate nodded as if she expected this answer. I understand. She turned to face the entire council. Her voice stayed calm and clear. Then these talks are finished. Humanity withdraws from all negotiations with the Galactic Council. We will not be returning, the room erupted. Aliens started talking in a dozen different languages. The translator ball spun wildly, trying to keep up. Some delegates stood up from their floating chairs. Kate walked toward the exit with Jake right behind her. She did not look back. Ambassador Morrison, Zexthala called out, his musical voice sharp with anger. You cannot simply leave. There are procedures. There are consequences. Kate stopped at the doorway and turned around one last time. Prime Minister, she said, you are absolutely right. There will be consequences. Then she left the hall. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Outside, Captain Lisa Carter waited by their shuttle. She raised an eyebrow as Kate and Jake approached. How did it go? Lisa asked. Exactly as expected, Kate replied. Send the message to Admiral Torres. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. As their shuttle lifted off from Zentara Prime, Jake looked down at the planet below. Do you think they understand what just happened? Kate stared out at the stars where human ships waited in the darkness between worlds. They will. 3 weeks passed after the humans left. Zentara Prime, the galaxy had never been so quiet. Admiral Ryan Torres stood in the command center on Luna Base, Earth's moon. Through the thick windows he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue marble. It looked peaceful, but Ryan knew better. Every human world was now ready for war. Sir, the last energy field is online, reported Lieutenant Colonel Amy Watson from her control station. She had been working for 18 hours straight, but her voice stayed strong. All 73 human colonies are now protected. Ryan nodded. The energy fields were something new. They blocked all sensors from outside. No alien ship could see what humans were doing on their worlds. No alien spy could listen to human radio signals. To everyone else in the galaxy, human space had simply vanished. Captain Lisa Carter walked into the command center carrying a datapad. Her ship had been flying patrol missions around the solar system for 2 weeks. Admiral, we have new reports. From our scout ships, Lisa said. The aliens are moving large fleets toward our borders. Ryan was not surprised. How many ships? The Corvin Federation has gathered 800 warships near the Rigel system. The Vorthic Empire has 600 crystal ships moving toward Alpha Centauri. The Zelani Collective launched over 1,000 vessels from their home worlds. Amy looked up from her controls. That is almost 3,000 enemy ships, sir. Against our 400, Ryan said calmly. Good odds for us. Lisa stared at him. Sir, did you say good odds for us? Ryan smiled. It was not a nice smile. Colonel Watson, how long did Operation Silent Thunder take to plan? 5 years, sir, Amy replied. Every detail has been tested and retested. And Dr. Stephen Cole's project? Ready for deployment, Admiral. Ryan walked to the main display screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with red dots marking alien fleet movements. All the red dots were moving toward human space like arrows pointing at a target. The aliens think they know how to fight humans. Ryan said, they studied our history. They watched our wars on Earth. They think they understand us. He pressed a button and the display changed. Now it showed green dots representing human ships. But these ships were not where the aliens expected them to be. They see humans as young and reckless. They think we fight like animals, using only emotion and anger. They believe their superior technology and greater numbers will win easily. Dr. Stephen Cole entered the command center. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been working on his secret project for 3 years. "Admiral, the final analysis is complete," Stephen said. "We understand how each alien species thinks and fights. The Corvin use direct attacks with overwhelming force. The Vorthek rely on energy shields and long-range weapons. The Zolani coordinate everything through their shared mind." Ryan turned to face his officers. "What do all these fighting styles have in common?" Lisa thought for a moment. "They are predictable, sir. Each species always fights the same way." "Exactly. They have been fighting each other for thousands of years using the same tactics. They never change because they never need to change. Their enemies always respond in expected ways." Amy suddenly understood. "But humans do not fight like anyone else. We change our tactics every battle," Ryan continued. "We adapt to new situations. We do things that make no sense to rigid military thinking. What looks like chaos to them is actually our greatest strength." Stephen opened his datapad and showed the others his work. "I have been studying human military history from every culture and time period. Romans, Vikings, Mongols, British, Americans, Chinese, Japanese. Everyone fought differently. Everyone adapted to their enemies." The screen displayed examples. Ancient Greek phalanx formations, medieval castle sieges, World War II island hopping campaigns, modern special operations. "Every human military leader learned the same lesson," Stephen said. "When the enemy expects you to do one thing, you do something completely different." Ryan pressed another button. The display showed detailed plans for defending human worlds. The plans looked insane. "The aliens expect us to gather our fleets and meet them in large space. Battles," Ryan explained. "Instead, our ships will scatter in 50 different directions. They expect us to defend our home worlds with orbital platforms. Instead, our platforms will be mobile and disguised as civilian structures." Lisa studied the plans. "Admiral, some of these tactics look like suicide missions." "Only if you think like an alien," Ryan replied. "They cannot understand why anyone would risk everything on a plan that might not work. But humans have been doing exactly that for our entire history." Amy looked worried. "What if we are wrong? What if their numbers and technology really are too much for us?" Stephen answered her. "Then we lose everything. But if we had stayed in those peace talks, we would have lost everything slowly instead of quickly. At least this way, we go out fighting." Ryan walked back to the window facing Earth. "The aliens made one huge mistake. They assume that, because humans are new to space, we do not know how to fight in space. They forgot that we have been fighting each other on one planet for thousands of years." A communication alert sounded. Captain Carter checked her datapad. "Sir, we are receiving reports from our deep space scouts. The alien fleets have begun their final approach to human territory. The Corvin will reach New Denver in 4 days." Ryan nodded. "Send the message to all human commanders. Operation Silent. Thunder begins in 72 hours. All ships to battle positions." Amy started typing commands into her control station. "Admiral, should we send any final messages to the alien fleets? Maybe they would reconsider if they knew what they were." Ryan thought about this for a moment. Then he shook his head. "No, they had 3 years to listen to us. They chose not to. Now they will learn the difference between talking to humans and fighting humans." As the officers prepared for battle, Ryan remained at the window. Earth looked so small and fragile against the black of space. Soon, alien fleets would come to destroy everything humans had built among the stars, but the aliens did not know what they were really attacking. They thought they were fighting a weak species with primitive ships and simple tactics. They were about to discover that humans had spent 5 years preparing for this moment. 5 years of planning, building, and practicing tactics that no alien mind could predict or understand. The galaxy was about to learn why humans had conquered their own world before reaching for the stars. The Corvin Talon fleet arrived at New Denver exactly when their computers predicted. War Commander Thekkanal stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human colony through the main screen. His scaled hands gripped the command rail with satisfaction. "Scan the planet. he ordered his crew. Show me their defenses. The Corvin had brought 200 of their best warships. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Vekanol expected the battle to last maybe 1 hour. Sir, we detect only basic orbital platforms, reported his weapons officer. No major defense fleet, no planetary shields. This will be an easy victory, Vekanol laughed, showing his sharp teeth. Humans are even weaker than we thought. Begin the attack. Deep underground on New Denver, Colonel Dan Murphy watched the alien fleet through hidden cameras. His command center was built inside a mountain, invisible to surface scans. Around him, 50 human officers worked at their stations. Sir, the Corvin ships are moving into attack formation, reported his sensor operator. They think our mining platforms are just civilian structures, Don smiled. Let them keep thinking that. Are our fighters ready? Captain Nicole Brooks reports all squadrons prepared for launch. Came the reply. Don activated his communication system. All units. This is command. Execute plan chaos in 30 seconds. On the surface, what looked like simple asteroid mining platforms suddenly came alive. Metal panels slid away to reveal powerful weapons and engines. The platforms began moving in patterns that looked completely random. The colonel stared at his screen in confusion. What are those platforms doing? They are moving without any formation or purpose. His tactical officer tried to track the human platforms with their targeting computers. Sir, I cannot predict their movements. They keep changing direction for no reason. Fire all weapons, the colonel ordered. Destroy them. The Corvin ships opened fire with their plasma cannons. Bright red beams lanced out toward the human platforms. But the platforms were no longer where the targeting computers said they should be. Each platform moved independently, like a dancer following music only they could hear. When Corvin weapons fired at one location, the platform had already spun away to somewhere else. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Sir, we are missing most of our shots, the weapons officer reported. The human platforms are not following any known tactical doctrine. From her hidden fighter bay, Captain Nicole Brooks watched the Corvin fleet trying to hit the dancing platforms. All squadrons, this is Brooks. Launch now. 20 small human fighters shot out from concealed hangars built into the planet's surface. They flew straight at the massive Corvin fleet in what looked like a suicide attack. Vekanol saw them coming. Foolish humans. 20 fighters against 200 warships. Destroy them. The Corvin ships turned their weapons toward the approaching fighters, but then something impossible happened. The 20 human ships suddenly scattered in 17 different directions. Wait, said the tactical officer. How can 20 ships go 17 different ways? The answer became clear as the human fighters reached the Corvin fleet. 3 of the fighters were actually decoys, empty ships controlled by computers. The other 17 fighters attacked from angles that made no mathematical sense. Nicole Brooks led her squadron under the Corvin flagship, then up through the center of their formation. Her wingmen went over the top and came down from above. Another fighter attacked from the left while spinning in circles. The Corvin targeting computers tried to track the human ships, but every fighter moved differently. There was no pattern to predict, no formation to counter. It was like trying to fight 17 separate wars at the same time. Sir, our computers cannot process their attack patterns, the tactical officer reported. Every ship is doing something different. Vekanol watched in growing panic as human fighters danced between his massive warships. The fighters were tiny compared to Corvin vessels, but they moved like angry insects, impossible to swat. How can they coordinate without a central command? He demanded. He did not understand that the humans were not coordinating. Each pilot made their own decisions, adapted to their own situation, and trusted their squad mates to do the same. It was chaos, but controlled chaos that only humans could manage. The orbital platforms had stopped dancing and now formed a loose circle around the Corvin fleet. From this position, they began firing weapons that the aliens had never seen before. Instead of simple energy beams, the human weapons fired metal projectiles that moved in curved paths. The projectiles bounced off asteroid debris, ricocheted off disabled ships, and came at the Corvin vessels from impossible angles. "Sir, their weapons are hitting us from behind while firing from the front," the weapons officer said in disbelief. The colonel realized his fleet was trapped. The human platforms surrounded them, the fighters attacked from every direction, and their weapons curved through space like living things. "All ships, break formation and scatter," he ordered, but breaking formation only made things worse. The Corvin ships bumped into each other trying to escape. Their own weapons accidentally fired on friendly vessels. Within minutes, the proud Talon fleet had become a confused mess of ships firing in all directions. Nicole Brooks saw her chance. "All fighters, target the flagship." Her squadron converged on the Colonel's command ship from 6 different directions. They fired their weapons not at the ship's hull, but at its engine exhausts. The small missiles disappeared into the massive engines and exploded from within. The flagship shuddered and began spinning out of control. The Colonel grabbed his command chair as his bridge filled with smoke. "Engineering report," he shouted. "Sir, main engines are destroyed, weapons offline, life support failing." Through the smoke and chaos, the Colonel heard something that chilled his warrior's heart. The humans were laughing. Their radio communications were full of jokes and casual conversation, as if destroying a Corvin fleet was just another day's work. In 30 minutes, it was over. The entire Talon fleet was either destroyed or disabled. Not a single human fighter had been lost. The orbital platforms drifted back to their original positions as if nothing had happened. Colonel Murphy opened the communication channel to the surviving Corvin ships. "This is New Denver Defense Command. You have 15 minutes to evacuate your wounded and leave this system. Do not return." The Colonel could barely speak. How did you defeat us so easily?" Dan's voice came back calm and friendly. "You fought like Corvin, we fought like humans. There's a difference." As the battered remnants of the Talon fleet limped away from New Denver, news of the defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light. The mighty Corvin Federation had been humiliated by a few farmers with mining equipment, but the other alien powers did not learn the right lesson. They thought the Corvin had simply underestimated human technology. They had no idea that the real weapon was something far more dangerous than any machine. It was the human mind, trained by thousands of years of war to do the unexpected. The news from New Denver reached the Zolani Collective within hours. In their massive hive ships, 1,000 identical beings shared the same shocked thoughts. The Corvin defeat was impossible to understand. Hive speaker Zelmarine stood before the Council of Minds, her gray face showing no emotion. Around her, the other council members moved in perfect unison, their shared consciousness processing the battle reports. "The Corvin fought without intelligence," Zelmarine announced. "They attacked as individuals instead of one coordinated force. We will not make this mistake." The collective had decided to send their great fleet to the Titan defense grid near Saturn. 1,500 ships would move as one massive organism, their every action planned and coordinated through the hive mind. "Humans cannot defeat perfect coordination," the council said together. "Their chaos cannot overcome our unity." General Patricia Young received the warning from Earth's deep space scouts. She stood in the command center of Titan Station, watching the enemy fleet approach on her screens. Behind her, dozens of human officers worked at their stations, each one making independent decisions. "General, the Zolani fleet is massive," reported her communications officer. "They are flying in perfect formation, like one giant ship." Patricia smiled. She had studied the battle reports from New Denver carefully. The humans had won by being unpredictable. Against the Zolani, they would need to be even more unpredictable. "All units, prepare for Operation Scattered Storm," she announced. "Remember, every ship captain makes their own choices. No central commands once the battle starts." Captain Robert Clark received his orders aboard the destroyer USS Freedom. His ship was small compared to Zolani vessels, but it could move fast and change direction quickly. "Sir, our orders seem strange," said his weapons officer. "We are supposed To pretend to surrender? Robert nodded. That is just the beginning. When I give the signal, we do something the Zilani will never expect. The great fleet arrived at the Titan defense grid like a silver wall moving through space. The ships flew so close together they almost touched. Every movement was coordinated. Perfectly through the hive mind, Zelmarine studied the human defenses through her sensors. Pathetic. Only 200 human ships against our 1,500. They have positioned themselves randomly with no formation at all. This was true. The human ships seemed scattered around Saturn's moons with no pattern. Some ships hid behind asteroids. Others drifted alone in empty space. A few actually seemed to be running away. Begin the attack, Zelmarine ordered. Maintain perfect formation. Do not let human chaos confuse us. The Zilani fleet moved forward like a giant spear. Their ships fired energy weapons in coordinated waves, each blast timed perfectly with all the others. Patricia watched the enemy attack from her command center. All ships execute Phase 1. Across the Saturn system, human captains received the same message, but each one responded differently. Some ships activated jamming devices. Others released clouds of metal particles. A few began broadcasting surrender signals. Captain Clark started his ship's surrender broadcast while flying directly toward the center of the Zilani formation. This is Captain Clark of the USS Freedom. We surrender unconditionally. Please do. Not fire. The Zilani hive mind processed this information instantly. Humans were giving up. Their chaotic tactics had failed against superior coordination. Accept their surrender, Zelmarine decided. Prepare boarding parties, but Robert was not really surrendering. As his ship approached the Zilani fleet, he suddenly cut all power. The Freedom went dark and began drifting like a dead Hulk dot. The Zilani sensors lost track of the ship in the metal particle clouds that other human vessels had released. To their coordinated minds, the Freedom had simply vanished. Robert's crew worked in complete silence. They had practiced this maneuver for months. While their ship drifted invisibly through the enemy formation, they prepared their real weapons. All around the Saturn system, other human ships were doing equally unexpected things. Some captains really did retreat, but they led Zilani pursuers into asteroid fields full of hidden mines. Others pretended their ships were damaged, then exploded into action when enemy vessels came to investigate. The hive mind tried to process all these different events at once. But the Zilani had evolved to think as one organism. When faced with hundreds of individual human decisions, their shared consciousness became confused. Report, Zelmarine demanded. What is the tactical situation? Her officers struggled to answer. The humans are not following any recognizable strategy. Each ship acts independently. We cannot predict their next moves. Patricia activated the second phase of her plan. All ships, you are now free to engage. Good hunting. The real battle began when human ships suddenly appeared from everywhere at once. They came out of asteroid shadows, dropped their surrender signals, and emerged from behind Saturn's moons. But they did not attack as a fleet. Each human captain chose their own target and their own method of attack. Some ships fired conventional weapons. Others used gravity bombs that pulled enemy vessels into Saturn's rings. A few captains rammed their ships into Zilani command vessels after evacuating their crews. Captain Clark's ship suddenly came alive in the middle of the enemy formation. His crew fired special weapons that created electromagnetic pulses. The pulses spread from ship to ship through the tightly packed Zilani fleet, disrupting their coordination systems. Sir, we are losing communication with our fleet, a Zilani officer reported. The hive connection is breaking apart. Zelmarine felt the shared consciousness fragmenting. Individual ship captains began making their own decisions for the first time in their lives. Without the hive mind to guide them, they panicked. Restore the connection, she ordered desperately, but it was too late. The Zilani ships began colliding with each other as their perfect formation fell apart. Some vessels fired on their own allies by mistake. Others fled in random directions. Patricia watched the enemy fleet destroy itself through confusion and panic. Signal all ships to cease fire. Let them run. Within 2 hours, the great fleet was scattered across the Saturn system. Most ships had fled back towards Zilani space. Those that remained were too damaged to fight. Dr. Marcus Lee arrived at Titan Station the next day to study the battle results. He was amazed by what he found. "General, the psychological impact is incredible," he told Patricia. The Zilani built their entire civilization on shared thinking. When that broke down, they could not function at all. Patricia nodded. They spent so long thinking as one mind that they forgot how to think as individuals. When we forced them to make independent decisions, they could not handle it. The news of the second human victory spread across the galaxy even faster than the first. 2 of the 3 major powers had been defeated by tactics that seemed to make no sense. Ambassador Kate Morrison received reports from human agents throughout alien space. Smaller species were beginning to question their loyalty to the old powers. Some were secretly sending messages to Earth, but the most important news came from the Vorthek Empire. Prime Minister Zextala had called an emergency session of the remaining Galactic Council. "He wants to negotiate," Kate told Admiral Torres over the communication link. Ryan looked grim. "After 3 years of refusing to talk to us as equals, now he wants to negotiate because we have proven we can fight." Kate understood his anger. "What should I tell him?" "Tell him that the time for talking is over. If the Vorthek want peace, they need to prove they deserve it." Across the galaxy, the final alien power prepared for war, but they had learned nothing from the defeats of their allies. They still believed that superior technology and overwhelming force could defeat human unpredictability. They were about to discover that humans had saved their best surprises for last. 6 months after the talks ended, Ambassador Kate Morrison returned to Zentara Prime. This time she did not come asking for anything. This time the galaxy came to her. The Great Council Hall looked different now. Instead of 50 alien delegates, only 12 remained. The Corvin Federation held just 3 worlds after their military collapse. The Zilani Collective had broken into dozens of smaller groups that could barely communicate with each other. Even the mighty Vorthek Empire was falling apart. Kate walked into the hall wearing a new uniform. Instead of the simple blue cloth from before, she now wore the formal dress of Earth's galactic representative. Admiral Ryan Torres walked beside her, not behind her. They were equals now. Prime Minister Zextala waited at the central table, but he was not sitting in his high chair anymore. His crystal body looked dimmer than before, and his golden bands were gone. Around him, the few remaining delegates whispered nervously in their own languages. "Ambassador Morrison," Zextala said, his musical voice much quieter than it used to be. "Thank you for coming." Kate took her seat at the table. But this was not the small, low table from before. Now she sat at the main council table, in the chair marked for Earth. "Prime Minister," Kate replied calmly. "You said you wanted to discuss new arrangements for galactic governance." Captain Lisa Carter stood near the entrance, watching for any signs of trouble, but there would be no trouble today. The remaining alien powers were too weak and too scared to threaten anyone. Dr. Stephen Cole opened his briefcase and pulled out several documents. These were not requests or proposals like the old days. These were the terms for a new galactic order. "The old system is finished," Kate announced to the small group. 3 superpowers controlling hundreds of smaller species through fear and tribute. That time is over. She gestured to Stephen, who activated a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas where alien governments had collapsed. Green zones showed regions now under human protection. 67 species have requested human protection in the past month, Kate continued. They are tired of being bullied by empires that see them as servants. This was true. As news of human victories spread, smaller alien races had begun sending secret messages to Earth. Species that had been forced to pay tribute for centuries were finally seeing a chance for freedom. Zextala made a sound like breaking glass. "You cannot protect the entire galaxy. Humans have only 400 ships," Admiral Torres smiled. "We have enough ships to defeat 3 major powers. I think we can handle whatever is left." The truth was more complex than that. Humans had not conquered the galaxy through superior numbers or technology. They had won by offering something completely new. Partnership instead of domination. Commander Grace? Phillips entered the hall carrying reports from human fleets throughout the galaxy. Admiral, I have updates from our patrol squadrons. The Rigel Republic has joined the protection agreement. The Antares Trading League wants to discuss membership. Even some former Vorthak colonies are asking for human mediation in their independence negotiations. Kate nodded. This was exactly what they had planned. Instead of conquering alien worlds, humans were helping them govern themselves. Instead of demanding tribute, humans offered fair trade deals. Instead of ruling through fear, humans ruled through respect. Dr. Marcus Lee had spent months studying the psychological effects of human victory. His research showed that most alien species actually preferred human leadership to their old masters. The smaller races trust us because we treat them as equals, Marcus had explained. We do not demand that they change their cultures or abandon their beliefs. We just ask that they treat others fairly. Zextala tried one last time to maintain his authority. The Galactic Council has existed for thousands of years. You cannot simply dissolve it. Kate looked around the nearly empty hall. Prime Minister, look around you. The Council dissolved itself. Most of your members have either been defeated in battle or have joined our alliance. She stood up and walked to the center of the room, where the floating translator ball used to hover. Now there was a simple table with documents written in dozens of languages. These are the Articles of the new Galactic Federation, Kate announced. Every species gets one vote, regardless of size or military power. Decisions are made by majority rule, not by the strongest empire. Trade is open and fair for everyone. Stephen placed the documents on the table. Any species can join by agreeing to 3 simple rules. No slavery, no conquest wars, no tribute systems. The remaining alien delegates looked at each other nervously. Some had been part of the old system for so long they could not imagine anything different. A small delegation from the Tau Mining Guild stepped forward. Their representative was barely 4 feet tall, with 6 arms and purple skin. For centuries, they had been forced to give half their profits to Vorthek overseers. Ambassador Morrison, the guild representative said in broken common language, we want to join your federation. We want to trade freely with all species. Kate smiled and handed him a copy of the Federation Charter. Welcome to the Alliance. Your first vote will be on the trade regulations for asteroid mining rights. Over the next hour, 8 more species signed the charter. Each one had been oppressed by the old system. Each one was eager to try something new. Zextala watched his empire crumble before his eyes. What about the Vorthik Empire? What happens to us? Kate turned to face him directly. The same thing that happens to everyone else. You can join the Federation as one species among many, or you can try to rebuild your empire with whatever worlds still follow you. She paused, then added, but remember, Prime Minister, you had 3 years to treat humans as equals. You chose not to. Now we are offering you the same choice we offered ourselves: join as partners or stand alone. Admiral Torres activated his communication device. This is Admiral Torres to all human fleets. Operation Silent Thunder is officially complete. Begin Operation New Dawn. Captain Lisa reported from her ship in orbit. Sir, we are receiving joining requests from 43 more species. They want immediate protection from any remaining hostile forces. Kate looked at the holographic display one more time. The red zones were shrinking as more species joined the green zones of human protection. Within a year, the entire galaxy would be united under the new Federation. Dr. Cole gathered his documents and prepared to leave. Ambassador, what should I tell Earth Command about our next priorities? Kate smiled as she watched small alien delegates working together to translate the Federation Charter into their languages. Tell them we are no longer preparing for war. Now we are building peace. As the human delegation prepared to leave Zentara Prime, Zextala called out one final question. Ambassador Morrison, how long were you planning this transformation? Kate stopped at the doorway and looked back at the crystal being who had once treated her like a child. "Since the moment we looked up at the stars and realized we were not alone, Prime Minister. Humans never wanted to conquer the galaxy. We just wanted to be part of it." She walked out of the hall for the last time as humanity's representative to an alien council. The next time she returned, she would come as the first president of the Galactic Federation. Elected by all species as equals, the talks had ceased, and the galaxy had indeed braced for war. But the war had ended with something no one expected, not victory or defeat, but transformation. The old galaxy of empires and slaves was gone. In its place stood something new, something built on the simple human idea that all thinking beings deserved respect. The stars belonged to everyone now.